My name is Shri Vanas, and I am the granddaughter of Patty Addy, and Patty Addy is the granddaughter of Teresa Lamble. She was raised by her, and Teresa spent a lot of her life working to preserve her language. She went and taught children, and she taught adults, and she worked years and years to make a dictionary. She dedicated a huge amount of her time and gave a lot of her knowledge in order to preserve this, because she knew that it was important. And even when everybody else told her that it wasn't, that it didn't matter, she understood that this is who we are, and it's something to be proud of. The social justice issue that we're dealing with is an ongoing one. It's one that started ever since settlers started coming to America, and the particular group of people that we're dealing with are a Northern Plains tribe. And when the settlers started moving west, when they had this, when they had a push to move west and to go farther, they started pushing the indigenous peoples into harsher and harsher land, and started making all these promises that they were going to pay them for the land, and they were going to, offer a better future for their children, and just one after another, the promises were broken. The specific tribe that we're talking about is the Gros Ventre tribe. A lot of people don't hear about them, and the reason for that is because at the beginning of the 20th century, most of the tribe was wiped out by smallpox, and it was actually a form of biological warfare. Settlers came and laced blankets with smallpox and gave them to the indigenous people, as like a peace offering, but then just huge numbers of them died off from that disease. Shortly after that happened, there was a huge push to put natives on the reservations, and one of the things that they did was put them with their enemy tribe. And back in the day, the Gros Ventres and the Assiniboines did not get along well at all, and so they put them on the same reservation. The next step in the process was to basically take the Indian out of the child. Take the Indian and leave the child was the slogan that they used. And my great-great-grandmother was a part of that, or she experienced that firsthand. She talked about when she was forced to go to boarding school, and it kind of caused a cultural genocide. It was basically an attempt to homogenize and completely wipe out a culture. So one of the ways that they did that was by taking away the language. In this next part, I interviewed my grandmother, who was raised by her grandmother. Her grandmother's name was Teresa Lamble, and Teresa Lamble was one of the ones who worked to reclaim her language and who held on to it.
There was less and less people as she got older that were speaking it, and so the college there, all the way from Head Start to the grade school, high school, and college, she taught the Gros Ventre language. She taught them the importance of speaking the language and knowing it and carrying it on, because she said we don't want it to completely die. So they're learning that, and it's good, I think, because that is their culture and it is a part of them. When she went to boarding school, they weren't allowed to speak their language. They had to speak English. And she said if they were caught speaking their Gros Ventre language, they'd get punished. So they wouldn't let them. Then a new era came, and then only ones that were preserving it, so she was happy about that.
Where do you think language's role is in society, in specifically culture? Do you think it has a strong role?
I think it does, yeah. Like, for instance, in our tribe, when you leave somebody, when you're going to leave somebody, you say, Atnahaban, which means there's no goodbye. In our language, there's no such thing as goodbye. It's just Atnahaban, I will see you later, my friend. The Arapahoes in Wyoming, they're kind of our sister tribe, and their language is just about like ours. And you can understand, in fact, we have relatives down there. And so they're preserving it down there too. So when they come up, they can understand each other. So they're very important of communicating. And then my other grandma did sign language. She couldn't hear very well, so I kind of had to learn and talk with her and communicate with her. Communication is so important in our people's hearts, and to greet each other and to tell stories.
Language and its preservation is a social justice issue because there are things that certain languages find important to convey, and it tells something about the way that people think. And when a language is deemed unworthy of preservation or deemed unworthy of survival, then that's saying something to the people who have worked to preserve that language and to the people who have spoken that language and grown up in it. It's devaluing a part of who they are, and that's an issue of justice because all people matter and all culture matters, and no one culture is better than another culture. Our diversity is beautiful. It's not something that we need to try and change or try and melt it into one. It's something that we can enjoy more when there's more variety.